If you ever want to see who someone really is, give them an audience. I didn't learn that from a book. I learned it from the sound of her laughing, bright, sharp, and confident, while I was still holding a velvet box in my hand. And the worst part? I didn't even hate her in that moment. I hated myself for not seeing it sooner. My name is Noah Carter. I build systems for a living: networks, security protocols, redundancies. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video if you want more real stories like this. The kind of work where you assume something will fail, because eventually it always does. You design around that truth. Love, on the other hand, makes you act like failure is impossible. With Mira Halstead, I stopped thinking like an engineer. 3 years together. 3 years of we're good, we're fine, we're just busy, and next month we'll slow down. I thought I knew her. She loved art openings, rooftop bars, and rooms full of people who laughed a little too loudly. She was magnetic. She made strangers feel like friends, and friends feel like they were lucky to be chosen. She was also selective with kindness. Not cruel, exactly, at least not in private. In private, she was warm, soft, even. In private, she could curl against me on the couch and whisper plans about the future like she meant them. But in public, Mira became something else. A performer. And I became her stagehand. The proposal started as a simple thought. We were standing outside a jewelry boutique one rainy afternoon, waiting for an Uber. She saw a ring in the window, thin band, square stone, and she paused like the world had stopped turning. "Don't," I said, laughing. "If you fall in love with it, my bank account will start crying." She smiled and said, "It's not about the ring. It's about the promise." Then she took my hand and squeezed it twice, the way she did when she wanted me to remember a moment. That night, I opened a notes app and typed, "Find the ring." By the time I clicked purchase, I'd convinced myself it wasn't a risk. It was the logical next step. We shared bills, we shared a lease, we shared holidays, we shared toothbrush space. We were practically married already, right? Right? I planned the moment like I plan a deployment. Location: Harbor Light, an old renovated ferry terminal turned into a restaurant with giant windows facing the water. Time: Saturday evening. Enough people for energy, not enough for chaos. Details: her favorite cocktail. Something lavender and expensive. A small cake, salted caramel, because she always said she hated chocolate and then ate mine anyway. A song request for the pianist. I told myself this mattered. That care mattered. That love could be measured in preparation. Mira brought her friends. Of course she did. "Is it okay?" she asked, already texting. "It's just Tessa and Ivy. They love you. Tessa loved nobody. Ivy loved whoever made the most noise." I said, "Sure," because I always said sure. Harbor Light looked exactly the way it was supposed to. Warm lights, glass reflections, water like black silk outside the windows. The hostess led us to a table near the edge. Perfect. Mira's laugh filled the space before we even sat down. "So listen," she was saying. I told him, "If you can't keep up, don't stand in my lane." Tessa cackled like it was the funniest thing anyone had ever said. Ivy nodded hard enough to hurt her neck. I smiled politely. I always did. When the server approached, I caught his eye and gave the prearranged signal. He nodded. My heart beat faster. I told myself that was normal, that nerves were proof it mattered. Dessert came. The pianist shifted into the song I requested. The water outside the window looked like it was holding its breath. I stood. Mira blinked up at me, surprised in a way that didn't feel like excitement, more like annoyance, like I'd interrupted her mid-story. "Noah," she said, half laughing. "What are you doing?" My hands were steady. My voice was steady. "Mira," I began, "I've been thinking about the day we met. You were wearing that ridiculous red scarf and you told me my apartment looked like a waiting room." She smiled at that, just a little. It did. And I've spent 3 years trying to build something real with you. Something solid. Something that lasts. I reached into my pocket. I could feel the box like a stone. I dropped to one knee. The air around us changed. You can sense it when a room notices you. Mira's face did something complicated. Surprise, yes. But also a quick flicker of calculation, as if she was running numbers in her head. I opened the box. The ring caught the light. It wasn't flashy. It was elegant. It was her. Mira Halstead, I said. Will you marry me? For a breath, there was silence. Then, she laughed. Not a soft laugh. Not a "can you believe this?" laugh. A real full laugh with her head tilted back like I'd told a joke. Tessa choked on her drink. Ivy slapped the table, delighted. Mira looked at them, eyes shining, and said, "Oh my God, he really did it." I stayed kneeling. My ears got hot. My mouth went dry. Mira? I tried again, quieter. She wiped the corner of her eye like she'd laughed hard enough to tear up. Noah. Her voice was gentle, the way you speak to someone who is about to be disappointed. Then she said, clear as a bell, "Sweetheart, come on, you can't be serious." The words didn't hurt as much as the tone. The tone said, "This is embarrassing for you." I heard someone at a nearby table whisper, "Oh no." I looked up at Mira. "I am serious." Mira's smile thinned. She glanced around, at the windows, at the guests, at the server frozen by the dessert cart. Then she leaned forward, still seated, and said, loudly enough for an audience, "You're adorable, truly, but marrying you would be small. Small. As if a life with me was a cramped apartment she couldn't fit her ambition into." Tessa laughed again. "Small is right." Ivy leaned in, hungry. "Mira, you have to tell him." Mira shrugged, like it was obvious. "I need a life that's bigger," she said. "I need someone who can match me, not manage me. Manage, like I was her assistant, like I was the person who made sure the lights stayed on so she could shine." My throat tightened, but my body did something I didn't expect. It went still, not frozen, not paralyzed. Still, like a switch had been flipped from emotion to clarity. I closed the ring box. Click. The sound was absurdly loud. Mira blinked, confused. "Noah, wait, don't be dramatic." I stood up slowly. I pulled out my wallet. I set cash on the table, enough to cover my portion and the tip. A ridiculous tip, because the server didn't deserve this. Then I looked at Mira. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't insult her. I didn't beg. I said, "You're right." Her brows lifted. "I am? Yes," I said. "I can't be serious." And I walked away. There is a difference between leaving and escaping. Storming out is leaving. What I did was escaping. I walked at a normal pace through the dining room. I felt eyes on my back. I felt my own pulse in my wrists. Behind me, Mira called my name once. Sharp, irritated, not worried, not regretful, irritated. I didn't turn around. Outside, the air was cold. I stood on the sidewalk for a moment, breathing like I'd been underwater. My phone buzzed. "Mira, where are you going?" I put the phone in my pocket. I drove home in silence. No music, no podcasts, no calls. Just the hum of the engine and the sound of my thoughts rearranging themselves. Our apartment, her word, not mine, was the kind of place you paid extra for. Polished concrete floors, white walls, big windows. It looked good on social media. I paid 70% of it. Mira liked the aesthetic. I handled the logistics. I unlocked the door, walked in, and didn't pause to feel anything. I changed into jeans and a plain t-shirt. Then I started packing. Boxes from the closet, tape from the drawer, suitcases from under the bed. I took my books, my laptop, my hard drives, my tools, my clothes, my documents, my grandmother's old photo album, my passport. I left the expensive throw pillows. The art prints she'd bought because they were vibes. The matching mugs with sarcastic quotes. The framed photos of us, because I didn't want to look at my own smile. In the kitchen, I took the cast iron pan I'd seasoned for years. I took the good knives. I took the coffee grinder I'd saved up for. I left the pastel cookware she never used. 3 hours later, my life was stacked in boxes by the door like I was moving out of a hotel room. The apartment looked wrong, unbalanced, empty in places it wasn't supposed to be empty. I stood in the middle of it and felt something strange. Relief. Not happiness, not joy. Relief. At 2:06 a.m., I sent one message. It wasn't poetic. It wasn't angry. It was a single sentence. You said my life was small. Imagine thinking I'd stay to be your scenery. I blocked her. Every app, every number, every path back to me. Then I called my friend Jonah. He answered on the second ring, half asleep. Noah? I need a place to sleep, I said. There was a pause. Then, I'll open the garage. Don't ring the bell. The baby's down. That's what real friendship sounds like. No questions, just doors opening. The breakdown didn't happen until the next night. Not in public, not in the car, not while I was packing. It happened in Jonah's guest room when the house was quiet and my adrenaline finally ran out. I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the wall. Then my chest tightened and my eyes burned, and the sound that came out of me wasn't sobbing. It was something uglier, something older. Jonah's wife, Maren, found me at dawn sitting on the floor with my back against the bed. She didn't try to fix it. She handed me coffee and said, "People who love you don't laugh at you." I nodded, because that sentence was more solid than anything Mira had ever promised me. In the following week, I treated my life like a breach. Step 1. Contain. Step 2. Remove. Step 3. Reinforce. I called the leasing office and paid to break my portion properly. I emailed the paperwork. I forwarded everything to Mira's email as well. I took screenshots. I documented. I closed loops. I changed passwords. I removed my payment methods from shared subscriptions. I canceled anything in my name. Mira didn't respond to the email. She responded with messages from new numbers. First, it was practical. Unknown. Noah, we need to talk about the lease. You can't just leave me with this. I replied once. One screenshot of the payment confirmation, the date, the receipt number. Then I blocked that number too. Next, it was emotional. Unknown. I didn't mean it like that. I was nervous. You surprised me. Please, can we talk? I didn't reply. Then it became angry. Unknown. You humiliated me. Everyone's asking questions. You did that on purpose. That message was so revealing I almost laughed. She couldn't even see that she had done it to herself. I didn't stalk her online. I didn't check her stories. I didn't ask friends for updates. Still, news leaks. A coworker, Dev, mentioned casually over lunch, "Hey, are you okay?" Because I saw Mira at the gallery opening on Thursday and she was intense. I didn't ask for details. Dev volunteered them anyway. She was with this guy, like big personality, loud. She kept making jokes about you, like you were some phase she outgrew. I stirred my soup and said, "Okay." Dev frowned. "That's it?" I looked up. What else is there? That was the first time I realized calm can be a weapon. It denies the drama oxygen. I moved into a smaller apartment across town. Sunlight, quiet, no white walls screaming for attention, just clean space. I bought one chair, a real chair, comfortable, sturdy, not trendy. I placed it by the window. The first Saturday morning there, I sat in that chair and drank coffee and listened to the city wake up. And I felt peace, a feeling so unfamiliar it scared me. I started therapy. Not because I wanted revenge, because I needed to understand why I had mistaken being useful for being loved. Dr. Sue, my therapist, was small and direct. She asked me, "When did you start auditioning for affection?" I didn't have an answer, not yet. So, we dug. Mira kept trying. Week 2. She emailed. Subject: We need to be adults. The email was a storm of blame, accusations, and carefully planted guilt. I forwarded it to a folder labeled Evidence and moved on. Week 3. She called Jonah. Jonah didn't pick up. He texted me a screenshot. Mira: Tell Noah he's being ridiculous. I'm willing to talk. Jonah replied, No, then blocked her. Week 4. She showed up. It was a Tuesday. I was making dinner, simple rice and vegetables because routine heals in quiet ways. The intercom buzzed. I ignored it. It buzzed again, then again, longer this time. I looked at the screen. No name. I pressed the button. Hello? Her voice came through, stripped raw. Noah, it's me. I didn't answer. Let me in, she said. We need to talk. I released the button. The buzzing started again. Something in me, maybe politeness, maybe a desire for closure, moved my feet. I went downstairs. I didn't open the outside door. I stood behind the security glass in the lobby. Mira stood on the other side, hair pulled back, eyes red, wearing a hoodie like she'd dressed in a hurry. For a moment, she looked almost human. Almost like someone who had realized too late that the stage was empty without a crew. When she saw me, her face broke into relief. Thank God, she said. Noah, please, let me in. I stayed where I was. Say what you need to say. Her relief snapped into frustration. Are you serious? You're going to make me stand out here? Yes, I said. Mira's eyes flashed. You left me with everything. The rent, the utilities. I paid my portion to end it, I replied. You have the email. I didn't see it, she said quickly. Like that solved something. I've been overwhelmed. This has been hard, I offered. She nodded, tears rising like she'd practiced them. Yes, hard. And I made a mistake. I panicked. I was embarrassed. You surprised me. I watched her carefully, like you watch a program running a script. She wasn't talking about hurting me. She was talking about losing comfort. She swallowed and stepped closer to the glass. I miss us. You always made things stable. You made life work. There it was again. Stable. Like a service. Like I was a subscription she wanted to renew after a bad trial period elsewhere. I'm not your stability, I said. Her jaw clenched. Noah, don't do this. I'm doing it, I said softly. Her tears fell, but her voice sharpened. You're punishing me. I'm protecting myself, I corrected. She slapped her palm against the glass. You can't just disappear. We built a life. I leaned forward slightly. No, Mira, you built a stage. I built the scaffolding. She stared at me, breathing hard. Then the mask slid, just a little. You know what? She hissed. You were never enough. You were safe. You were convenient. You were predictable. Predictable. As if my consistency was a flaw. She straightened, eyes cold now. And you'll regret this. You'll regret leaving someone like me. I looked at her and felt something settle in my chest. Not anger, gratitude, because she had just handed me the final proof I needed. I nodded once. Okay. She blinked, thrown off by the lack of reaction. Is that all you have to say? She demanded. Yes, I said. Then I turned and walked away. Behind me, she shouted my name. She banged the glass. She made noise like noise could change reality. I didn't look back. Upstairs, my dinner was still warm. I sat in my chair by the window and ate slowly. Outside, the city kept moving. Inside, I felt quiet. And for the first time, I understood something I wish I'd known years ago. Closure isn't a conversation. Closure is a decision. If you're listening to this and you've ever been humiliated by someone you loved, I need you to hear me. The opposite of love isn't hate. It's disrespect. And the moment someone shows you they can disrespect you for entertainment, you don't argue, you don't bargain, You don't audition for their apology. You leave. Not loudly, not for a reaction, quietly, completely. Because the most powerful sentence you can ever live is this: imagine thinking I'd stay. What I did instead. People think moving on is a glow-up montage. They imagine dramatic reinvention, new haircut, revenge body, exotic vacation photos, a cryptic caption that screams, "Look what you lost." That wasn't my path. My path was smaller. And that's what made it powerful. I started waking up early, not to punish myself, not to prove anything, but because mornings were quiet. I could hear my thoughts before the world tried to sell me someone else's. I went back to the gym the way you return to a language you used to speak. Slowly, patiently, one clean rep at a time. I got rid of the furniture I dragged out of that apartment piece by piece. Not because it was cursed, but because it carried the feeling of bending myself to fit someone who never intended to fit me back. I built new routines: grocery shopping on Wednesdays, calling my sister on Sundays, reading actual books instead of scrolling rage bait. When Mira's name tried to rise in my mind, I didn't shove it down. I treated it like smoke. Notice it, then open a window. Therapy helped. Not because my therapist gave me answers, but because she refused to let me lie about the questions. One afternoon, Dr. Sue asked, "What do you think you were earning by staying?" I said, automatically, love. She shook her head. Not love. Love doesn't need earning. Try again. I sat there for a long time before the truth landed. Approval. I was staying to earn approval. I had mistaken being chosen for being valued. That realization didn't hurt like the restaurant did. It hurt differently, like pulling out a splinter that had been embedded for years. Mira tried once more. It happened a month later, when I was leaving the grocery store with a paper bag full of things no one was going to photograph. Onions, rice, dish soap. I heard my name. I turned. She was standing by the entrance, dressed like she was heading somewhere important. Hairstyled, makeup perfect. The old Mira, the brand. For a split second, she looked relieved, like she'd found a missing key. Then she noticed my expression. Not anger, not longing, just neutrality. "Hi," she said too brightly. "Can we talk?" I looked at her and saw clearly what I hadn't been able to see before. She wasn't a villain from a movie. She was a person who had learned to survive by making everything a performance. She was addicted to attention the way some people are addicted to sugar, and I had been her favorite source. "About what?" I asked. Her mouth opened, then closed. She wasn't prepared for the question. She expected the script. Tears, apologies, big declarations. Instead, she got me, a man who no longer wanted to play. She tried again. "I've been thinking." "Okay," I said. She took a step closer. "I didn't mean what I said. You know that, right?" I held the grocery bag a little higher because my hand was tired. "I believe you," I said. Her eyes widened with hope. "You do?" "Yes," I said. "I believe you didn't mean it as a truth. You meant it as entertainment." The hope in her face faltered. "What does that even mean?" she snapped. "It means," I said calmly, "that you cared more about how they looked at you than how I felt. And that's not a mistake. That's a pattern." She swallowed. "People grow." "They do," I agreed. She waited, as if I was about to offer her a door back into my life. I didn't. "I hope you grow," I said. "Just away from me." Her lips trembled, but her eyes hardened. "So you're really done?" "Yes," I said. She stared at me like she couldn't understand a world where her gravity didn't pull everything back. Then she turned and walked away. No shouting, no glass banging, no tears for an audience. Just a woman leaving without applause. That night, I sat in my chair by the window with a cup of tea. The city lights reflected in the glass like distant stars. And I realized something else. A small life isn't small when it's yours. A small apartment can be a sanctuary. A small circle of friends can be a fortress. A small routine can be the difference between chaos and peace. Mira wanted bigger because bigger meant louder. Louder meant noticed. Noticed meant real, at least to her. But real isn't loud. Real is consistent. Real is safe. Real is someone who doesn't laugh when you kneel. If you take anything from this story, take this. When someone humiliates you in public, the pain is sharp, but it's also a gift because it clarifies everything. It shows you the truth without the fog. And once you see the truth, you only have two jobs. 1. Believe what you saw. 2. Leave with your dignity intact. The quiet exit is still an exit. And sometimes, it's the only one that saves you.